Hi guys, it's Beverly. So I'm here with a tutorial on the Mary Maxim first quarter 2022 Afghan club, and the pattern is twist and turns Afghan. And I'm sorry if the light goes in and out, but I have the sun to my back and a light in the front. Okay, now I am not going to show you the pattern. I am not going to show you the complete tutorial for the pattern. But the way I feel about this is we have spent our money for this club. It's $29.99 every quarter with $4.99 shipping. So we're talking $34.99. And if you cannot figure out the pattern, then you've wasted your money. And I've had Kimberly, hi Kimberly, asked me to do a tutorial. And so I figured it out finally. And then I'm making the tutorial. Now here is what it is after I figured it out, how it works and how it looks. I had quite a bit of problems with it, as did Kimberly. So I decided that I was going to use some worsted weight yarn, and I used a J hook here to figure out rows 1 and 2. And then beyond that, rows 3. Now, I'm only going to do 1, 2, 3, because I haven't gone into row 4 yet. But I think once you get it, row 4 is a repeat of row 2 once you get the hang of it. But of course there's increases because the square gets bigger. And with this pattern you make 12 squares, and you start with a chain of 33. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this bigger yarn again and show you the first 3 rows with a bigger hook, and then based on that you should be able to figure out how to do it with this beautiful prism yarn. Now I will say that I started out with a slipperier hook, and I've decided to use this Susan Bates hook. It's upside down, I know. The pattern calls for an H, and I'm using a Susan Bates H. But I had a different hook, and it was a little bit too slippery with this prism yarn. But I'm going to use a J hook on this because it's bigger, the yarn is bigger. And before you start using this prism yarn, you can't rip this yarn out. I mean, you can, but it's just not good. It starts getting more fuzzy, and it's much easier if you can learn or practice on this before you get into your prism yarn. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pause the video. I'm going to frog this out, and then I'm going to chain 33. So I'm going to join you back when I'm ready to do row 1. Okay, so I have my 33 stitches, and it says to work 8 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the 4th chain from the hook. So we're going to work 8 double crochets in that chain. Okay, and what I want to do is I also want to take a stitch marker, and I want to mark the top of this chain 3 space. Okay, so as I was saying, we're going to put a stitch marker in the 3rd chain. Okay, or in the chain 3. Oop. Oh wow, you guys probably can hear that bird. He's just going to town. So, whoop, it's splitting. So we're just going to go ahead and do 8 double crochets here. Okay, so it says to do 8 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. Double crochet in each remaining stitch to the end and turn. So you should have 38. So what's going to happen is you would count this first chain 3 as 1 stitch, and then you would go 8. So that would be considered 9. And so then right here next to this right here is number 10. Okay, and that stitch right there is going to become important when you go to do row 2. So we're going to go ahead and double crochet all the rest of these stitches, and I'll meet you back. Okay, now in my case I ended up with 1 too many stitches, so don't worry about this over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Okay, so what I'm going to do for row 2 is I'm going to use some pink yarn. And you're going to, if you're going to do a swatch, you can use whatever kind of yarn that you want. But I would definitely recommend doing a swatch of this because this is a little weird. Okay, so I joined my color that I'm going to use for row 2 to show you. Now for row 2, it says to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to turn our work, and this chain 4 counts as the first double crochet and the first chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting a stitch marker in the 3rd chain so that I know that that's the top of my first double. Now it says to skip the next double crochet, so this counts as your first double. We're going to skip and we're going to do a double crochet in the next double crochet. My hands are a little sweaty here. So anyway, we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip a stitch and we're going to double crochet chain 1, skip a stitch. Okay, so we're going to end up doing the skip a stitch, double crochet, chain 1 14 times. And I'll meet you back. Okay. Now I did a portion of row 2. So you can see here that I put a stitch marker in the 3rd chain. And so now we have a chain, a double crochet, chain 1, and then we have our repeat, which includes the chain 1, double crochet, skip 1, chain 1, double crochet, skipped 1. And it said to do that for 14 times after our first double crochet. Now I just want to make a comment here that after you complete that, Okay. You will have 14 chain 1 spaces when you're finished. Okay, so you could even count as you're going. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then to complete that repeat, you have to do a chain 1. Now, if you take a look here, this is what I said was real important. This stitch was real important because this is the last chain before we go into these 8 doubles. Okay, so when you finish your repeat of skip 1, double crochet, chain 1 14 times, you should be finished on that stitch, because now we're ready to do this in with the 3 corners we're going to have. Now, personally, when I did this, I kept thinking there should be 4 corners, like a granny. But no, this pattern doesn't work that way. I'm moving my yarn here. This pattern only has 3 corners. So that was one of the tips that I gave to Kimberly, is to put stitch markers in these chain 3s. And we're going to go as proceed here. Okay, so now what it says to skip the next double crochet, which would be the first one of our 8 here. Then it says to create a corner in the next stitch. Now all of these stitches are done in the same stitch. So we chained 1 as from our last repeat. We're going to skip the next double, and then now we're going to create the corner in the next double. So we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. And the pattern says to double crochet, chain 1 twice. So that's what we did. Double crochet, chain 1. Double crochet, chain 1. Then it says to do a double crochet, and that's all in the same stitch. Okay, now it says to place a stitch marker in the center double crochet. So this stitch right here, here's the first double, there's the second double. That is your actual corner. Okay, so you could put it in while you're creating this double or whatever, but that's what we do. Now we have created a corner. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the stitches between before we go to another corner. Oh, now there's a crow going. Okay, so we're going to do a chain 1, a double crochet in the very next stitch, okay, chain 1, double crochet in the next, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and in the next stitch we're going to create another corner. So that is a double crochet, chain 1, back in the same stitch, double crochet, chain 1, and in the back, same stitch, double crochet. And my yarn's starting to get tangled over here. Okay, so there's our next corner, and we need to put a marker in that middle double crochet. And as we're doing this pattern, we are going to be moving these stitch markers up. Okay, all right, so we completed our corner. Now we need to do another corner. So we're going to repeat back to that previous bracket, and it says to chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch, so we're going to double crochet here. Okay, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. Now it says to skip 1 and do your next corner. Okay, so we're going to skip this one, do our corner in this one, and do a double crochet in this one. So that's how it's going to work. So we're coming over here, skip, and we're going to go right inside here, and we're going to make our next corner. Again, the yarn's in my way. So we're going to double crochet, chain 1. Double crochet, chain 1. And if you want, let's see, am I running out of stitch markers? I am. Okay, so this is the center of our next corner. So I need to put a stitch marker. I did my chain 1 already, and so then I want to do another double crochet, and that corner is finished. Now I need to chain 1 and double crochet in the last double crochet. And see, this is the very first chain 3. So that's why I wanted to mark this. Okay, so I'm marking my chain 3s at the beginning and end of each round. Okay, so I did my chain 1, and then I'm going to go right in there where I took the stitch marker out, get it through 2 loops, yarn over, and do a double crochet. Okay, so you can see. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and put on row 3. This is row 3 back here on the darker brown. So we're going to be putting it, we're going to be turning this over, and we're going to be putting row 3 on here. Okay. Okay, so we're ready for row 3. Now, row 3 says, from this point on, chain spaces will be referred to as stitches. So we're going to be putting stitches in those chain 1 spaces, but they might not always say chain 1 spaces. Okay, so row 3 says chain 3. So here we go. 1, 2, and 3. And again, you would be continuing with whatever yarn that you have. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn my work. So I'm going to pull this out this way. Okay. And we're going to be working around. Now I have my stitch marker already waiting here to put in the top of this chain 3 in a minute. Now, it says a chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. Double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So this is a chain 1 space. So we're going to double crochet. We're going to double crochet in this double. And in the next chain space. Okay. Now, I got another stitch marker here. And see, there's my 1, 2, 3 doubles. And in this top of this chain 3, I'm putting a stitch marker. Okay. Now, it says to do a corner in the next double crochet. Now, the pattern does not spell out how to do a corner. It expects you to remember, and it is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and I'm going to go ahead wherever my stitch marker went, there it is, and I'm going to mark this second double crochet, and finish my corner by doing this double crochet. Okay, so see, there's my corner, and I have my stitch marker in the middle double crochet. Now it says to double crochet in the next 7 stitches. Okay, so we've got to count these chain 1 spaces. Okay, so here's a chain 1 space. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 'Gonna do that one over. 6 and 7. Okay. Then it says corner in the next stitch, which is right here where our stitch marker is. Okay, sorry for bumping everything. So we're going to take the stitch marker out. Okay, and we're going to make our corner. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. See, there we go. And so we're going to put a stitch marker in that second double crochet, which it's not going in easy. Okay. And then a double crochet. So there's my corner, and it said to repeat that twice. And just for reference, on the pattern, it showed that those 7 double crochets and the corner were in a bracket. Okay, so that means it has to all be done in sequence. But see, what I do is I follow the punctuation. First, it's a double crochet in each of the next 7 stitches, period. So I stopped and I did 7 double crochets. Then it said corner in the next stitch. And then it said to repeat that twice. Okay, so now I'm going to do 7 stitches in between all this. Okay, so we've got a chain 1 right there. So we're going to go in that chain 1, and in that stitch is number 2, chain 1 space is number 3. I have to pull up some more yarn. And this one is number 4. Number 5, number 6, and number 7. Number 5. My yarn's tangled. Number 6. And number 7. Okay. And now I'm going to do a corner in this corner stitch. So we're going to take this out. So a corner is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. So I'm going to put a stitch marker in. Oh, it's not cooperating, so you got to stop and put it in. And then we have to do one more. I got my chain 1, and I have to do one more double crochet. Now here we go. What does it say to do next? It says to double crochet in each of the remaining stitches to the end and turn. Okay, so that's what we have to do. We have to double crochet in the chain 1 spaces and in the double crochet. Double crochet in the chain 1 space, double crochet in the double crochet. All the way to the end, and don't forget to double crochet in this top of the last chain 3 space. And when you get finished, you should have 65 stitches. So I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm down here and I've counted 65 stitches. Now what I want to mention to you is that when you're counting these over here, don't forget these chain 1 spaces. They count as stitches, so you could come out with 65. Okay, so I've done 64, so I'm in this chain 1 space, and that's why I marked this top of my chain 3 so I can take this out and do my last double in the top of that chain 3. Okay, there you go. So at this point, everything's tangling up, which is so nice. So there we go. And then here is the original. And then some of my stitches are coming out, but I'll put them back in. Okay, I gotta move that fan. Sorry about that. Okay, now what we're gonna do is later on we're going to be bringing this in and closing up this. You know, I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna all fill in, but we'll do it later. And of course, the picture shows that this hole is pulled in, and we'll be doing that later too. But that is rows 1, 2, and 3. And then number 4 is just like number 2, only the number of stitches changes. And row 5 is just like row 3. Okay, so I think that's what happens is the even number rows are like number 2 and the odd numbered rows are like row 3. And beyond that, I don't really know, but I'm not going to do a full tutorial. I'm not going to show the pattern because it's paid for pattern. But like I said, my disclaimer on this is I did not want to purchase this pattern and do not want you to purchase this pattern without some assistance, because we want to get our money's worth, and I'm sure Mary Maxim would like us to get our money's worth too. Yeah, it's possible that this goes like this. I'm not sure how it works because we haven't gone beyond that. But at least this gives you a background. My recommendation is to get some yarn, bigger hook, bigger yarn, and do a swatch. So because this yarn has little, what do you call it? I can't think of it right now. Little fuzz or halo. That's what Christy calls it, halo. And it hangs up on itself, and you can pull it out, but it's going to be worse for wear, and it's not good. So you can teach yourself how to do this pattern making a swatch. And I don't always make a swatch. I dive in and I make my pattern, but I recommend doing a swatch. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to post up this video, and I hope it helps you guys. Please comment below to let me know that it helped you. And if you have any additional questions, please email me or comment below. Bye, guys. Love you. Bye.